On this particular video here, I want to do an extended and critical and detailed analysis about the by-elections that we've had in the country. I know I've done analysis before where I'm talking about the individual benefits and losses. But now on this one, I want to focus on broad-based government and of course the opposition team, because those are the two factions we are going to have in 2027, the two horse race. Because even when they've come out to speak, especially the government side, they say that as broad-based government, they have swept the entire by-elections that we had in the country.
Ningependa kuwarudishia wale watu wetu wa UDA na vijana wetu wa ODM ambayo wametufanya kazi na tumefiaka. Hao watu walikuwa wanasema hatuwezi, ati hakuna broad base.
So I want to look at the benefits into details and the losses into details. But before I take you through, if this is the first time you're watching my videos at Mukwa Times, please take a second or two to subscribe, like and comment, because that is the best support you can always give this channel. Now, when I talk of broad-based, I mean ODM and UDA. And when I talk of the opposition, I mean the DCP, Jubilee, plus many other parties like Wiper combined, even DAP from Western Kenya. So, first of all, I want to start from Meru North. Meru North, there has been some celebrations by government that they have won, and everyone is saying from outside Mount Kenya, who does not understand what exactly happened in Mount Kenya, they are saying that William Ruto beat Rigathi Gachagua by far. But also, some people get confused. Why is it that when William Ruto went to Meru, or maybe went to Embu, he got very serious hostile reactions? And now when it comes to elections, he wins. That is a clear indication that there are other factors which really led to the results that people saw at Meru North, which people have not talked about. And that's what I want to highlight here, first on the case of Meru North. Number one factor, it's about the clan. Now, once the by-election was declared, ladies and gentlemen, William Ruto and his men were very much focused on the clans of that region. They also went further to look at the ward levels, based on numbers. And they picked a candidate who was slightly higher than that one of the opposition side. Wamudende comes from a region that is slightly higher in terms of numbers than that of Karish. And then, DCP candidate had picked someone by the name Mbui. Mbui comes from the biggest clan and the biggest region with more numbers. If he could have come with the numbers on board, there's a likelihood he could have beaten these two other candidates. But according to the opposition team, they shared the numbers and they realized that Mbui was not the most popular, but Karish was the most popular. However, DP was not the most popular party, but DCP. So they made a mistake there by going with DP. I wish they could have listened, but I think this can be purely attributed to Justin Muturi. But the fact remains that they lost the seat. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to clan, William Ruto picked the better clan, which has better numbers, and they funded the campaign very well. Apart from the political violence that was witnessed at Meru North, and also the amount of money that was used during the campaigns, there are people who are so much attached to their clans in that they cannot vote someone else from another clan. When you decide on the candidate to go and run for the MP seat at Meru North, you must consider the factor of clanism. And that is the biggest mistake the opposition made. They left a leader from that region by the name Mbui, who comes from the biggest clan with the biggest numbers. And they chose Karish, who comes from a slightly smaller clan. And Karish also used one of the most unpopular parties, that is the DP party, within Meru North. So this is the issue of principles, where Justin Muturi felt like, I know, this is my party, it needs to be given priority and stuff. And that's how they feel. And I think this should be a lesson to Justin Muturi, that he should not now compete with Rigathi Gachagua at all. He should just let things be. DCP hadi mwisho. Now, when I get back to the point that I was just making here, clanism now, William Ruto's team went for the candidate who had slightly higher numbers than this one for the opposition side. And William Ruto, through Moses Kuria, ensured that Mbui has found himself at the ballot to ensure that the numbers of opposition remain small with the Karish. So this is what happened. First, William Ruto had the understanding that clans matter. 1. 2, and they saw that if Justin Muturi comes from where Mbui comes from, then that means if Mbui steps down and supports Justin Muturi's candidate Karish, there's a likelihood that more numbers are going to come from that side because they will not have a candidate. So they ensured through Moses Kuria that Mbui amesimama. After Mbui went to the ballot, it garnered 2,400 votes, almost 3,000. And actually, those are almost the same number of votes that Wamudende beat Karish with. So in a nutshell, the opposition team did not take into account the clanism. When it comes to the general benefit to the broad-based government, or maybe to the opposition side, I can comfortably say it here that there's no much gain for the UDA, ODM team, the broad-based government team. Why am I saying so? Clanism remain. When it comes to the local politics, they'll always vote that way. Even in 2027, if they choose a wrong candidate, more especially for the posts like MP, senator, or even governor, there's a likelihood that they will take the one with the highest in the combination in terms of clans will win the seat. It will still happen, whether you're from UDA, DCP, or what. It will be determined by clanism. That's number one. Number two, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that people have to know, it is that it was the same case before. The competition at Meru North has always been very tight. Always someone winning with a very close margin. A clear indication that whatever happened, it is just something that has been happening at Meru North, which shows that it might not indicate what the presidency might be when it comes to 2027. Because now in the presidency, people might decide here there's no clanism. We are now working as Mberians, people from Mbere, or maybe you're working as people from Embu. Who do we want at the top? So considering the dynamics that we had before, where people were rejecting William Ruto right, left, and center. So there's a likelihood William Ruto might not win the Meru North. Not just seats, but I'm talking about the presidential elections. But when it comes to opposition here, they were able to put up a fight towards President William Ruto, be able to challenge, like it has been a big party or maybe a big coalition that has been existing for ages, which shows clearly that they achieved a lot by showing their muscles within that region. And also, I hope they have learned a lot when it comes to handling the elections, because this is the first time they saw William Ruto handle it brutally the way it happened. When it comes to Malava, this is a special case. Malava, people say it has never been out of government at all. It has never been in opposition. Even the late Malulu Njendi, this gentleman was in government. So they said this time around, they're also not going to leave government. So it is a case that has been happening. Always Malava has ensured they have always remained in government. So which means it was likely to happen. And that's why I tell people here, don't joke with statistics. Whenever statistics are brought up, take them very serious. So historical statistics show that there is a likelihood even in 2027, they are going to vote for someone who will be in government. And even if they vote someone in opposition, eventually, because of the state of Malava constituency, this person is likely to jump ship and join the government side. But if I go further, we had some elections at Chwele in Kabuchai, where we had actually an independent candidate winning. That is an MCA position. In fact, if there's a position you should take very serious, is the MCA position, because this is a conversation that takes place locally, where you can hear what are people saying when it comes to the national politics. You get the point here. When it comes to a member of parliament seat, like in where I come from in Kitutu Masaba constituency in Nyamira County, people tend to look at, you've been in leadership, you come from this region. Now let's give this other region. Clanism plays a big role. But when it comes to the MCA position, it's the conversation that occurs locally. What people are saying about the top seat, you can easily get the reflection at that particular level of the MCA. So therefore, when you see Chwele, Kabuchai, at Moses Masika Wetangula's stronghold, that an independent candidate has won the MCA seat, who was supported by none other than George Natembeya. You need to take it very serious that now George Natembeya is intruding Western Kenya seriously. He has actually gone further to Moses Wetangula's side, that is Bungoma, and is likely to destroy them. He just needs some slight support, especially in finance, to be able to push across and be able to shake none other than Moses Wetangula seriously. So when you saw them vote for the independent candidate, avoid Moses Wetangula, something that is weird because Moses Wetangula is not allowed to be defeated, then it's clear George Natembeya is taking over Western region. Very clear. Apart from that, if you go to Kisa East, the person who won there was from the DCP side. And this is a region as well in Western Kenya, where we expect the ODM people to even win. It's a clear indication that people are subscribing now to the opposition side so much. Meaning, when we had the elections in 2022, the ODM team was all over. The MCAs now are going to DCP and the DAP. A clear indication, ladies and gentlemen, that there is some intrusion towards the opposition side, which means broad-based is being shaken, is being weakened day by day. Now, in this particular case, ODM has lost big because they wanted to feed their candidate there. People refused, which means that it's learned that the ground is hostile against the ODM party. Now, generally, if you look at the broad-based government, if ODM is losing support, especially at that level, then they should be worried that you are losing support. Despite you won other by-elections, we are losing support in Western Kenya, which is a very crucial region. Also, there was a by-election at a place called Puruko in Kajiado. This is a place where the member of parliament is of ODM party. The governor is of ODM party. But still, they voted for the UDA candidate to go and become the MCA of Puruko. What does that show? The ODM party is losing popularity to a great extent. And the competition is now going down between DCP and the UDA. When you check in Narok County, the person who won there was the DCP by the name Masikonde. Masikonde is from Narok Town. Is now the current MCA of Narok town. If you go to Kajiado Purko, it was UDA. The competition is now between UDA and DCP, which has never been an election before. This means now that Gachagwa's effect is moving further from the Mount Kenya region to the rest of the country. And I'm telling you here, watch this space. You are simply going to see more parliamentarians coming from many other parts of this country, not just the Mount Kenya region, under the DCP ticket. So generally, you can see that the ODM is losing its popularity across. When you go to the Gusii region, there were 3 by-elections. And in all those 3 by-elections, the ODM was swept seriously. There was ODM in Nyamaiya, there was ODM in Nyansiongo, and there was UDA in Kekerenyo. When you look at all these by-elections, ODM was swept. Before, we knew that Nyamira was a stronghold of the ODM party. But now things are happening contrary to the expectations, where ODM is not even gaining any seats, any numbers there. A clear indication that ODM now is losing popularity day by day. So for those who are celebrating, oh, ODM has won, it is not good for them. But to look at all these patterns, in Mount Kenya, Eastern Province, Gusii region, and of course Western Kenya, they are all heading to the same direction. When you check from the MCA reactions and the conditions that led to William Ruto winning in Mount Kenya East, you can tell clearly that all these regions, the thinking of the people is the same, forming an alliance of ideologies that does not support the government, which means William Ruto has to be very careful that now the ground is shifting towards the opposition side. ODM has lost Gusii region because of Dr. Kingo Fred Matiang'i. When you go to Central Kenya, it is strongly behind Rigathi Gachagua. When you go to Eastern Province, it is behind Kalonzo Musyoka. When you go to Western Kenya, Nyatembe influencing the MCA to go to independent. And then we have in Kisa East, an MCA going to DCP. That's a clear indication that the conversation locally, it is changing right now. And the people are not talking about ODM, UDA, or government anymore. That is a strong alliance that is being created between these regions. That is Mount Kenya East, Mount Kenya West, and also Western Kenya, Gusii region, and the eastern part of Kenya. In a nutshell, losing at Meru North, or even in Malava, it is insignificant. Why do I say so? Despite the perception that was created that William Ruto has beaten them, the fact is that the voting patterns that were seen there have been existing over ages. I don't know what's your take, but on the comment section, feel free to share with me on what you think.